Newlywed plus nearly a widow plus heartless mother-in-law equals petty revenge. I was 24 and had been married for exactly 3 months when this happened. My husband Mike worked as a merchant marine, which basically means he spent weeks at sea on these massive ships carrying oil and cargo all over the world. He just left Texas less than a week ago on this huge oil tanker headed to New York. I was still getting used to being alone for weeks at a time. The house felt so empty without him. So I'm sitting at our kitchen table after dinner, grading my students' math tests because I taught 4th grade back then. I had the TV on in the background for noise when this breaking news alert starts flashing across the screen. Oil tanker on fire off the coast of the Carolinas. Crew status unknown. Ship in danger of sinking. My heart literally stopped. I dropped my red pen and just stared at the screen. The timing was exactly right. Mike's ship would be passing through that area right about now on its way to New York. I called his shipping company immediately. The lady on the phone was super formal and cold. She goes, "We cannot release any information about crew members until we follow proper protocol with the Coast Guard." I'm like, "That's my husband on that ship. I just need to know if it's his ship or not." She goes, "Ma'am, I understand your concern, but we have procedures we must follow. We'll contact families as soon as we have confirmed information." Then she hung up on me. I called my friend Sarah, whose husband was also on the same ship. She answered on the first ring, which told me she was watching the news too, but she didn't know anything either. We were both just sitting there freaking out together over the phone. That's when my landline rang. I thought maybe it was Mike's company calling back with news, or maybe it was Mike somehow calling from the ship. Nope, it was my mother-in-law, Linda. Now, Linda had never liked me from day one. She thought Mike was too young to get married and that I was just some gold digger trying to trap her precious son, even though I had my own job and paid my own bills. She goes, "I just saw the news about the oil tanker. Have you heard anything about Mike?" I told her everything I knew, that the timing matched his ship's route perfectly, that his company wouldn't tell me anything, that I was scared out of my mind waiting for news. I'm literally crying into the phone telling her how worried I am. I thought maybe this would be one of those moments where she'd actually act like family, you know, like maybe we'd support each other through this nightmare. But then she says the most heartless thing I've ever heard in my life. In this completely cold, emotionless voice, she goes, "Well, if something happens to him, who's going to pay for the funeral now that you two are married? Is that going to be your responsibility or ours?" I couldn't even respond at first. Like, did she seriously just ask me about funeral costs while her son might be dying in a fire at sea? No concern for Mike, no comfort for me. Just this ice-cold question about money, while I'm sitting there terrified that I might be a widow before my first wedding anniversary. I hung up on her without saying another word. Then I screamed every curse word I knew at my empty kitchen. I spent the next 6 hours pacing around my house, checking the news every 5 minutes, calling Sarah to see if she'd heard anything. My stomach was in knots. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sit still. Finally, at like 2 a.m., Sarah called me back. She just heard from the Coast Guard. It wasn't our husband's ship. They were safe. I literally collapsed on my couch and cried from relief. And you know what I did next? Absolutely nothing. I did not call Linda back. I let her sit there all night wondering if her son was dead or alive. The next morning, the news announced which ship it actually was and that all crew members had been rescued. That's how Linda found out her son was okay. From watching the morning news like everybody else. She called me later that day asking why I didn't call her back. I told her very calmly that I assumed she was more concerned about funeral costs than her son's safety, so I figured she could wait. From that day forward, I was nothing but polite and distant with her. She never got another emotional phone call from me. She never got to be close to her grandkids when we had them. She made her priorities clear that night, and I never forgot it.